Hey guys, Dozer here bringing you a new video. This time I'm going to be talking a bit about the announcements that have been coming out over the past week. It's been an exciting week for Flesh and Blood, and I thought I'd make a quick video to catch you all up to speed before we get into the Wild West of testing that we'll be having to explore now. With the finishing of a lot of the competitive events that have been going on, LSS has noted that Starvo can no longer hit Living Legend before Pro Tour New Jersey, and have such made some preemptive bans a week earlier than we thought they were going to be giving them to us, so that people can start testing and preparing for the new meta. First change on the chopping block is that Awakening is banned. Awakening is the Guardian card that prevents your opponent from really being able to race you if they're doing aggro, because if you are lower health than your opponent, you get to reduce the cost of your next Guardian attack by the amount that you're lower by, and you can double that value if you fuse it with an Earth card. Awakening also lets you search for a Guardian attack out of your deck that has a cost equal to or less than the amount of seismic surges that you control, which means that if I go down by 10 HP, I can play Awakening and play Pulverize, which is the 10 cost 14 damage card for free, and that can just really swing a game. Which is just a crazy catch-up mechanic that no other character really has, and has been very unfair at preventing the aggro decks from having a chance at racing down characters like Starvo, for instance. While it's notable that Michael Hamilton did not run Awakening in his calling winning list, it's still a very powerful card that restricts design space going forward, and so I'm happy to see it getting banned. This card is insane, and in my very a long time ago video about the cards released in Aria, they Awakening was one of the cards I was like, well, I can't believe this exists. So glad to see it on the banned list. Going beyond that, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Autumn's Touch has been suspended. So Autumn's Touch in Starvo is a key card that allows him to block for 3, trigger his Go Again off of visibility because it pays for the Earth as well as the 3-cost card. And it is just a very good consistency booster for him. So the fact that they're getting rid of Awakening and they're also getting rid of this card means that Bravo will have to find substitutes for this card, such as Evergreen, and Break Ground, which have 2 block and don't have relevant effects. So this will make Bravo a little bit harder to play the defensive game, while it won't fully kill his ability to play the game. I think Starvo's going to be just fine. He'll just have to play a bit more of fair Flesh and Blood, although he'll still be extremely strong with his equipment and just general kit. Beyond that, Bloodsheath Skeleton has been suspended until Viserai rotates with Living Legend. Bloodsheath Skeleton is another card that's very similar to Awakening in the sense that it is pretty busted by design. So if you just look at it for base value, it provides at least 3 block, which is amazing. Most really good chess pieces can really only realistically block like 2 HP of value, such as Blade Break, things like New Horizon, or things like Perch Grapplers for Ranger, or maybe you have something like your Skull Cap that you can get 3 block out of sometimes, but 2 block is generally what you'll be getting out of it, depending on how the game plays out. But this is always 3 block at a minimum, and it also allows you to block for 2, which is still better than most equipments, and then still get free resources out of it, which has constantly been enabling the Viserai giant Sonata turns. Now, Bloodsheath being gone is huge, because now decks that can actually put Viserai on the back foot and prevent him from being able to play the aggressive mid-range list and plan will actually be able to keep him on that back foot and not just let him auto win the game because he just draws Sonata with maybe 15 to 20 rune chance up, draw 6 to 7 cards or whatever the number becomes based on the turn, and then being able to just run you over with more damage than any hero could ever realistically stop or do anything about. So this card being gone is very nice for the game. I'm very happy about this. I think this was the right move, because not only does it open up design space for more expensive cards for Runeblade in the future, like Ninth Blade and Sonata, but it prevents Viserai specifically from having access to this really disgustingly overpowered and overtuned and degenerate card. Sonata is still going to be a powerful card that Viserai can use as a 0 cost, effectively cantrip that does 1 damage and turns on his ability and such, but he will no longer be able to draw, your entire hand for free off of one card, which you could do in a lot of matchups when you were building up rune chance. So, and it prevents you from having that just over the top power that you were getting access to for free at no real opportunity cost. So that's gone. That's amazing. And then beyond that, we also have Seeds of Agony moving from to the suspended list. Seeds of Agony is currently banned and is a 0 cost. Give your next attack 1 arcane damage, depending on how much it costs. And it has Blood Debt, right? So you can play it from Banished. And this card was really amazing for Chain because you could play it for free out of your Banished and activate like all of your effects and get free damage. So the fact that it was a free resource card that made it even easier to play your Eclipse to summon Shadow of Ursa, or the Ursa token. This card was really good. And so if Chain rotates out, I can see how this becomes a more fair card, because if you're not banishing Soul Shackles every turn at an increasing number, then Seeds of Agony definitely makes a lot more sense in the power curve of the game. So it's nice that it is now tied to Chain. They gave some reasoning as to why they banned everything. You'll notice that there are no Prism changes. That's because Prism is not overpowered. Yes, Prism's very strong, but as LSS has talked about in their own article here, Prism has favorable and unfavorable matchups, and has mainly only seen success in this format due to Starvo being a very good target for her, since he's the best deck and she kind of counters him. But as you'll remember, not too long ago, we had the Briar meta where Prism just really could not go toe-to-toe with the format. So Prism will definitely find some success in any format where she can target a deck, but she does not need any inherent changes right now based off of that, according to LSS, and I would agree. So happy to see all of these changes. And for Blitz, notably Viserai Living Legend himself by having access to Skeleton in Sonata, where he could easily OTK on turn 1 or turn 2. So this was very interesting. They're also trying to curb the speed of Blitz, which I'm very happy to see. One of the big things that they're trying to talk about is how a lot of these characters are able to end the game too quickly, such as Heart and Crossstrap, being able to end the game too quickly with, say, Dash or with Rhinar. You've got Awakening, which makes toxic gameplay patterns with Guardian. You've got Snapback and Stir the Aetherwind, which are amazing. These are the best cards in Wizard, honestly. And as someone who's been playing a bit of Kano and Blitz recently, those are definitely going to be hits that hurt. But honestly, outside of the Oldhim matchup, you don't need those cards. They're just very good. So, it'll be interesting to see how the format slows down, especially now that they've removed Sonata from Blitz, notably keeping in Skeleton, right? Because if you notice, Sonata, as we said before, kind of is a free damage, free activate your abilities thing. And the problem with that is that because it enables all these things in Runeblade, it's very difficult to stop that arcane and also maintain, tempo and everything. So I'm glad they're getting rid of Sonata there, just trying to see how it shakes out. Especially with Viserai gone, there's really not going to be a lot of rune chant generation, but it means that Briar especially won't be able to just make free lightning tokens. So, all right, that seems pretty good. Also, interestingly, Subbehaviors is banned once we hit June, which will be interesting because that's around the time that Uprising comes out, and they are basically preemptively hitting it because apparently it enables an OTK. So that's interesting. I have no idea what that could be referring to, but that'll be interesting to see. Speaking of Uprising, we have been getting reveals this week. I've made a slight post about it on the community part of the channel, but I waited to make a video until we got more information. So let's take a look. So Icelander here is the ice wizard hero that we know from Everfest. However, she now has an adult form. 36 HP, her 18 HP in Blitz multiplied by 2 as the standard. She's got the same ability where if it's not your turn, you may play a blue non-attack from your arsenal as though it were an instant. And whenever you play an ice card during your opponent's turn, you get to create a frostbite under their control. So this is very, very, very interesting. I'm extremely excited to be testing her and using her in the upcoming format when she releases after Pro Tour season. Very excited to start deck building her. She's got all the control elements that I like from Prism, has the magic arcane damage thing that I like from Kano, and she's got the ice mechanic that I like from Lexi. So I'm going to really be enjoying this character. Notably, she's getting access to a couple of very interesting cards, starting with Channel the Bleak Expanse, which is a fairly good card with Go Again here. So it starts at a value of 6 value, which is the same starting value as Channel Lake Frigid. The big difference is that it costs 1 less resource and blocks 1 less. So otherwise, it's the same card as an ice action and as a blue. So if you can keep this around by paying for the channel cost, which is to put ice cards from your pitch to the bottom of your deck at the end of your turn, heroes cannot reveal cards, search their decks, or draw cards. So this is extremely good against, say, Sonata and Skeleton Viserai, though with Skeleton Ban, that's no longer needed. This card is just an option in the game as a safety valve if those effects ever become too good again. It prevents drawing off of Crown of Seeds. It prevents fusing cards, for instance. It prevents being able to use things like Beacon of Victory to search for combo pieces. It prevents using Become the Arc Knight, and it prevents a whole host of cards. Prevents like Snatch from working. So Channel the Bleak Expanse is a very, very good card at slowing the game down by preventing people from getting access to just free resources, namely things like Belittle and Chain or things of that nature. So this card's very interesting and very good, but it's going to be more of a sideboard card. This isn't going to work against every hero. A lot of heroes don't draw, or even if they do draw, they might, like this just wrecks Katsu, by the way. But generally speaking, this card is going to be good, but it's not going to be, it can all include in every matchup, even though it is a blue that's, pretty decent. So that's nice there. Beyond that, we've got Encase, which is a elemental wizard action, which if you fuse it for ice as a 0-cost red 3-block, deals 3 arcane, and has an on-hit effect that says if it deals damage, it freezes that hero and their equipment. Freeze is a new keyword that says a frozen object cannot be played or activated. This is notable because it does not say cannot block, so you can still block with your equipment. It just doesn't let you use your equipment abilities, nor does it let you play cards that are frozen. So if you have a card in your arsenal that's frozen, you can't play that out of arsenal. So Encase is very interesting, and it's effectively just a better version of Zap, which will be very cool to see. Let's see here. So we've got Encase as a Majestic, so there's only one color of that. Comes in for 3. Then we have Ice Bolt, which is a Ice Wizard action. Notably, this is the first talented and classed elemental card. Until now, we've only had the Elemental Ranger, Elemental Guardian. We've never had Lightning Ranger or Lightning, Runeblade. It's always been Elemental, and the Lightning and Earth and Ice cards slotted into the deck as well. But Ice Bolt being both a wizard card and an ice card is amazing, because not only does this work with Icelander's ability, right, to play it from Arsenal, give a Frostbite on your opponent's turn. The fact that this is a common would imply that it is a cycle of red, yellow, blue. So it's effectively just an ice Voltic Bolt, and it is extra value for Icelander because it's an ice. It helps you fuse easier, helps you pitch. It does everything that you could really want. And this is a very good sign going forward, because one of the best things that Prism had access to, and Chain for that matter, was that they had the light cards that were of their class, which meant that they could run a lot of really good cards that were able to synergize not only with their talent, but also with their class. And Ice Bolt showing us that they are willing to go in that direction with elemental cards is very exciting. Going beyond that, we have some other interesting cards. This is her specialization. So Icelander specialization, it's a XX cost, just like Sonata. Blue 3-block with no Go Again, which is notable because it's a wizard card. They don't tend to have Go Again. It's not an ice card, notably as well. It's only elemental wizard. And as an XX cost card, it means that you pay double the resources into it for the effect that you get, right? So if I want to create 3 Frostbite tokens, I have to pay 6 resources, right? Because 6 divided by 2 is 3, so X equals 3, right? 3 plus 3. That's what XX means. So you would create X Frostbite tokens, effectively half the pitch of the stuff that you fuel the card with, under an opponent's control. Although you could give it to yourself if you wanted to, I guess. And then if this was fused, Ice Fusion, you can deal Arcane to that hero equal to the number of Frostbites they control. So this card is really interesting because for 0, you can just pop all the Frostbites that they control and just deal damage to them, which is very interesting. beyond that, so like if there's a way to give them a ton of frostbites, this card just lets you detonate them kind of like a Blazing Ether does. Additionally, if you catch them at the right part of their turn with this, you can effectively end their turn and then nuke them for a bunch of damage, because as we'll see in a little bit, right now this doesn't look like a lot of damage because, you know, frostbites don't do damage. But what if there was a way for frostbites to deal damage, right? That'd be pretty good, yeah. So first we have Icebind. Before we get to that, this is a cycle common. It has 3, 2, 1 arcane depending on the color, and it costs 0, so it's effectively another version of Ice Fused Zap. And if this one hits, it freezes the arsenal. So it's kind of like Encase, except where Encase freezes the player's hero ability, as well activated hero abilities, as well as their activated equipment abilities. An Icebind will freeze the arsenal. So otherwise they are effectively the same card, except you can run a lot of Icebinds. Beyond that, we got Frost Hex. This card looks really cool, just visually. Like, the artwork is stunning. On top of that, it's an amazing card otherwise. So it's a blue 3-block. That's really important for Icelander because, as we said, her hero ability is to use blue cards out of her arsenal at instant speed if they're non-attacks. And wizard cards are all non-attacks, and a lot of the ice cards are non-attacks as well. So giving Icelander access to an ice wizard action is double dipping, because now you can use this for fusion, you can use this for pitch, you can use it for block, and you can play it. It's just everything you could ever ask for in a card. And let's see what it does. So it's an Icelander specialization, so it's unique to her, and it's an affliction aura. So we have curses now. We have auras that we can give to our opponents that give them negative effects. And so by putting Frost Hex on your opponent, until it's destroyed by an effect, Frost Hex says that whenever they have a frostbite during their end step, they take an arcane for each frostbite. And this effect stacks. So if you play all three Frost Hexes out, every time they can't pay for a frostbite on their turn, at the end of it, they are going to take 1 damage for every Frost Hex you put onto them, which is a great win condition for a deck that was looking to be low on the damage side. You combo this with Ice Eternal, and you're going to start seeing how, oh, wait a second. So if my opponent, let's say they have a very red-heavy deck, right? And they attack and they pitch and they have 1 card left in hand, you're like, okay, Ice Eternal from Arsenal, fused, and I'm going to pump it for, let's say you're going to pump it for a Tunic resource plus 9 pitch so that you can fuse it, right? So you're going to be coming in for 5 Frostbites and 5 Arcane. If they can't pay for the Arcane, they're going to take 5 Arcane. And then if they can't pay for the Frostbites after because they're out of action points or out of resources, then each of those Frostbites of those 5 is going to deal 1 damage, which means you're coming in for a potential 20 damage here off of that combo. With your whole hand, yes, but you know that's pretty decent, right? So Frost Hex is really good, and notably, it doesn't have a expiration date. It doesn't destroy itself, and it doesn't have Spectra or anything like that. So your opponent can't get rid of this unless new cards are printed that allow them to do so. So Frost Hex, very powerful, very interesting, and I think very just cool for the game, because you can't just stack these on people and just deal damage to them for free. They have the ability to pay for Frostbites, and it's hard to generate a lot of Frostbites as Icelander. You know, in order to do this Ice Eternal combo, you have to effectively not block for a turn. And so in the late game, after you've gotten 3 Ice Hexes down, Frost Hex, right, and you've paid 3 each time, so there is an opportunity cost where you are taking damage to get these into play. Although you can try and mitigate that a bit, you are having to pay and slow the game down long enough to even pull off this combo, if it even works, right? So very, very cool late game plan here. And against a lot of characters, this is going to be very interesting gameplay. However, we also got Hypothermia. Hypothermia is a aura, affliction. So again, it is a curse that you put on your opponent. Cost 0. It's an ice card. Notably does not have Go Again itself. So this has to be the last thing that you do on your turn, or you can play it as an instant as you are Icelander. Notably, all these ice cards that aren't wizard cards can be played with Lexi and Oldhim, so in Starbow for that matter. So these cards are going to be very interesting cards added to the toolbox for ice. And as a blue card, you know, Icelander can play it from her arsenal. give someone a frostbite, and have it as an instant, which is really good. And it says attacks that you control cannot gain Go Again. But this does not affect attacks that already have Go Again naturally, like written on the card. And at the beginning of your end phase, destroy this. So Hypothermia basically just says that effects cannot give Go Again to other things. So Embodiment of Lightning, fusing a card, gaining it off of Razor Reflex. There are a lot of effects, Soul Shackles. There are a lot of effects that even like, I think Shadow of Ursa loses Go Again off of this too. Because very few cards actually have innate Go Again. You'll notice in the game, a lot of Ninja combo starters have it. Spears of Surreality has it in Illusionist, and so on. But a lot of cards have to get Go Again from an effect or from another source. So this card's actually very good at slowing down the game. And it'll be interesting to see how it impacts the game when it's printed. It fuses, it pitches, it does everything you could ask for. So looks like a good card. Beyond that, though, we have the reveals from yesterday. So at first, we have Cold Snap, which is a ice. It's sort of like a Polar Blast, except it kind of does something on your opponent's turn, whereas Polar Blast did not, right? So Polar Blast, 2 block, Go Again, 1 cost blue, ice card, common cycle, so you can have 3 colors of this. We can assume that this is a target hero must pay 3, pay 2, or pay 1, depending on the color of the card. And if they don't, you freeze a card in their arsenal, which means that they cannot play a card from their arsenal. It also specifies that you can freeze an ally they control, which is extremely important to think about for shadow heroes, because currently those are the only heroes that have allies. But this might imply that we'll be seeing some allies get printed in the new set. Also lets you draw a card if you play it from arsenal, so that's pretty good for keeping your resources up. But what does that mean for us? Well, we also got a reveal for the Draconic talent, which is the Volcor talent, where we don't really have exactly much more to go off of than this one card, Thaw, which lets you, at the start of your turn, banish it from your graveyard to get a free effect of either to destroy a Frostbite, to destroy an Ice Affliction that affects Frost Hex, so this card for free just gets rid of Frost Hex, and unfreezes a frozen card. 6 attack, 2 block. It's only paying 1 defense of value for the ability to get a free effect. So Thaw is very interesting. It's very cool to see Draconic as a talent. Funny enough for me, because not too long ago, I actually, for my custom cards, was making Draconic cards. The artwork's amateur for sure, but I was thinking that there'd be more of like a Fury mechanic where, as you take damage or deal damage, you would get cost reduction on things or get stronger. Maybe you'd be able to do more damage if you had these Fury tokens or something. But yeah, so I'm very happy that, like, with a literal dragons on the frame, I was like, Draconic would be a cool way to call that. And that's exactly what we have for Thaw. So I'm very excited to see what happens with the Draconic talent. I'm just going to say right now, I would be very surprised if we got a talented Kano in this set. I'm pretty sure main sets are supposed to be for, new heroes. And I think that because this card is a 6 attack and is a Majestic, I think we'll be very likely to see a Draconic Brute. That's going to be my prediction here. And it'll be interesting to see. We've kind of got like a Fire and Ice set. We've got a lot of good ice cards coming in here. We've got some very interesting counterplay to them that maybe some other heroes would get access to in the generic pool, but even if they don't, Ice Hex or Frost Hex here is going to be a very interesting card to play around and very cool. And I'm super excited to be playing Icelander. We got some more information coming out later today about In Flames and Uprising. So I hope you guys are excited for that, and I will see you guys in the next video. Otherwise, stay cool. Take care. Peace.